Hi guys, it is Tisha with Tisha Transformed. Just wanted to touch base with you. Sorry I haven't gotten back to you in a few days. I've been very, very, very sick. I have a new doctor. I really like her a lot. She's trying some different things to help out. Right now, it doesn't really seem to be working. I'm just swelling bigger and bigger and bigger. So we're just gonna try to keep on going and see what happens. But and I wanted to touch base with you a little bit about what I was talking about earlier in terms of when you do any kind of transformation, you often lose friends or people that you're close to, family members. Sometimes you even lose your significant other. And, how I deal with that and, what you can do in terms of, creating that new life that you're creating when you transform. Basically, I have lost pretty much all of my friends. I have a couple of people that check up on me from time to time, and but for the most part, I lost a friendship of 35 years due to my illness and their judgment of me and my illness and my situation. And, my family members are basically saying, it's your own fault. You created this problem. My father says, you're choosing to live this lifestyle of illness, and if you keep going to doctors, they're going to end up killing you, and, just really negative things. So, basically, when you are trying to transition and make your life better, and you're struggling with continued illness, and, like right now, whatever I do seems to, kind of backfire or doesn't seem to work. But things take time, and you didn't get sick in a day, so you're not going to get well in a day. And you have to remember that, and the people around you have to understand that as well. But in dealing with loss and grieving the fact that your illness has created difficulty in your relationships, you have to remember a few very important things. Most people stay in their own head and in their own mind and worrying about their own dreams, their own desires, their own issues, their own problems. And that includes family, friends, your lover, your mate. People are very, very attached to their own issues. So when you present them with a situation where you are in really strong need of additional attention or additional help, you will often find even the people that you've helped in the past tend to resent that request or that need. And the longer that your illness goes on, the less patience the people around you have for your situation. And, tend to make judgments as if you're lazy or you're choosing to remain sick or you're creating your illness on your own, and, continue to make judgments against you. And that helps them to make themselves feel better about them not assisting you or not communicating with you or avoiding you. A lot of times when you are ill or when you're in some sort of a difficult transition, you've lost your job, you've lost your home, you've lost a loved one close to you, a child or a parent, and you're going through the grieving process, which is just as transitional and transforming as an illness. You're going to find that people do distance themselves from you. It's kind of like a joke. Whenever you need to move, you got tons of friends until you need to move, and then nobody's available. It's the same way with illness. And when you become, seriously ill or infirmed or not mobile, not able to get around, not able to take care of yourself, people tend to disappear. How you handle that. Now, that's the thing, is everybody's going to handle it differently. For me, over the years, I've learned to accept the fact that people come and go out of your life. People are in your life for a reason and a season. And things happen to you, and challenges are brought to you, and lessons are brought to you that sometimes aren't really fun. And sometimes they require a lot of, soul searching, and a lot of, mental adjustment, and a lot of, introspective moments in time. So you being a bit isolated from other people really isn't necessarily a bad thing, because when you are going through a transitionary period of your life, it's a very solitary walk, because people often can't understand where you're coming from. We all handle sickness and pain differently. We all respond to people differently when we're in that situation. And people generally don't want to hear your negative stuff if they have negative stuff going on, or even if they don't. They don't want you to cloud their life with your issues. They don't want to be reminded that they could be sick at any moment. So basically, how I handle the loss of, a friendship due to me being more needy, or me being more, I guess, negative in a sense, because you talk about your illness a lot, and because it is a part of your life now. So you talk about it a lot, and you don't have maybe sometimes positive thing to say, and you can't go places because you just feel horrible. So when you lose that friendship, the initial friendship my initial connections that I lost were with my family. They were strained anyway from past history and past experiences. So, as they begin to distance themselves more and more, I've always been closer to my mother than my father. Basically, she disengaged from me very quickly in the process, where I reach out to her and check on her and talk to her, but she doesn't call and check on me. It could go weeks and I wouldn't hear from her. Periodically, she'll say, just checking in. And then, I'll say everything is fine, but that's like, it could be weeks before I hear from her. So, basically the way I take it is, people just can't handle the transition. Maybe they don't believe you. Maybe they think you're causing the problem. They're passing judgment without walking in your shoes. And all you can do is grieve that loss and, really let yourself grieve that loss, because it is a loss. And then, move on. You have to be strong enough within yourself to recognize the fact that, maybe the connection can be reconnected once you get better. Maybe you won't want the connection reconnected the way that it was before once you get better, because of how the person treated you when you needed them the most. But being that this is my family, and being that these are my parents, I have a firm belief that regardless of how asleep they are in life, regardless of their hang-ups or, whatever issues they might have with me, they are my parents. So they brought me to, life, and they kept me relatively safe and throughout my childhood. And we had experiences together which were good. We had a lot of really negative experiences together, but they are my family and they are my parents. So I will always be there for them. I will always be pleasant to them. I will, as much as I can. I will never, leave them in the cold, or try not to leave them in the cold. And because it's not because of who they are, it's because of who I am. And that's really what the decision that you want to make in your life. When you have someone step away from you, or you decide that the situation is not healthy for you because it makes you feel bad about yourself, or because, it's just testing you, or the person is judging you, and you decide to step away, or they step away from you, you have to decide, am I just going to cut that person off and just move on with my life? Or am I going to allow them back, when the time is right? And that's really a personal decision. Now, my family I'll always keep with me, healthy or not. They're my family, and I owe them my life, and I won't not be a part of their life. That's just how I feel. My sisters and I really don't communicate very much, so if that's really not something I'm used to. So if I'm not able to get in touch with them or communicate with them, that's really not an issue for me. Now, with my 35-year friendship that I had lost, I always knew that she's very, very judgmental person in general. She's liked by a lot of people, but I've known her since I was in 6th grade, and I've always known her to be very judgmental. She thinks in a specific way. Everything is black and white. So when I was in the hospital and we had a conversation where she said, basically, I don't know what to do with you anymore. Nobody in your family knows what to do with you anymore. And I was like, what are you talking about? And she's like, well, you're always sick and you're never going to be better. And I said, well, I'm doing the best I can. And she said, and it basically came down to the fact where I said at the end of the conversation, what makes you think your life is so much better than yours? And she said, really? Are you kidding? And that was the end for me. In that moment, I realized that all this time that she was being present in my life and all this time that she was, being a part of my life, she was basically judging her life against mine. She's single. She's almost 50 like me. She was married once, but it was for a very short time. She's never had children. She says, well, at least I'm living my life. Well, I am too. I have children. I can't go to the bar every Thursday, Friday, Saturday night like when I was single. I can't have a lot of hobbies because we don't have a lot of money to purchase things for hobbies. And I have to work, even though I'm sick, as much as I possibly can to take care of my kids. I have to be here for them. They are older, yes, 15 and 19, but they still, I believe that as children get to their teenagerhood, they actually need more attention than when they're little kids, because they can get into a lot more hot water as they become more independent than when they were really young and were more under control, more centered around you. So for me, being present for my children and, working, trying to make money and work and keep us in home is more important than doing other things like hobbies or what have you. So for me, that's more important. So in that moment, when she said, are you kidding me? Like my life, of course my life is better than yours. I said, done. And I immediately just blocked everything. And I haven't looked back. And I don't regret it at all. Because what I find is, and I'm a Gemini, so I can do that. Once I get to a point where I've got what I call my belly full, I'm done. And you don't get to come back. Because I have deemed that our relationship is toxic, that you don't understand me, I apparently don't understand you, and we have nothing left in common together. So our relationship, for a reason and a season, is now over. And I felt that closure from, basically that moment on. Not because it made me angry, but because a friend, a true friend, loves you no matter how crazy you are, no matter how sick you are, no matter how poor you are, no matter what mistakes you make in your life. Because trust me, she made plenty of mistakes and tons of issues. And I could see them, of course, and I could recognize them, but never once did I judge her for them or berate her in regards to her choices in life, regarding men, regarding money, regarding anything. I always said, whatever you decide, I'll support you. And I meant it. Whatever she decided, I supported her because that's what a friend does. When you love someone, regardless of what they're doing, I don't care if they're snorting half a pound of coke up their nose, or if they're shooting up every single day, or if they're dating 27 men, or what they're doing. If you say you're their friend and you love them, you're concerned about their behavior because you don't want them to get hurt or die or something bad happen to them, which you can try to get them help or try to discuss that situation with them. But ultimately, people only change because they want to change, not because you want to change them. So if you have a friend and they have difficulty in their life, if you want to continue to be their friend, then there is no judgment. It's unconditional love. You can be concerned. Like I said, you can offer your concern, you can offer your love, but at any given point, judgment should not play a part in that. You love them. Can I help you? I see you're doing something unhealthy and it scares me. Can I help you? If they say no, you have a choice to sever the friendship based on the fact that you don't want to be a part of that person injuring themselves, injuring someone else, or doing something illegal. So you choose to disengage from that person on an ethical standpoint. But when it comes to illness, or when it comes to, their process and what they're going through, decisions they're making, the only thing that you can do as a friend is to support them, love them, and if they request your help or your advice, then you provide that in the most loving way possible. Or get them someone else that can provide a more objective view and get them help. But this person chose to make a very harsh judgment based on no source of living or experience that she'd ever had. So you cannot judge someone if you've never been in their position. Never been a single mom of two, never not being assisted with child support, or very rarely. Having to scrape and fight for every little thing that you have, and then try to raise your kids with good moral values and ethics, being present for them when other people can't be or won't be. These are things that she's never known. So where my life is very serious and very driven to a purpose that I have to raise my children and to support them monetarily, that's not something she's ever had to worry about or do. So I don't judge her for her behavior, because I've always known she's been a little bit like that. But where it came down to me is, if I'm trying to transition and I'm trying to heal, I don't need negative feedback. I don't need someone who is judging me while helping me. So they're helping me to make themselves look better or feel good about themselves. They're not loving you or assisting you out of the goodness of their heart. The whole time they're doing it, they're leaving you and communicating with other people just what a mess you are, and how much you're not doing or could be doing, or all these things. So not healthy. So when a relationship becomes toxic, you have to recognize that, and you have to sever those ties. And you can grieve the process, but I didn't grieve the loss of that person in my life, because at that moment I realized that the relationship could not be any more unhealthy than it was, and that I was not going to participate in it any longer. And done. I wish her well. I hope she has a very successful and happy life. I do not wish that anything that has happened or occurred with me will ever happen or occur to her. And I hear a lot of people say, oh, well, karma will get them. And why? Why would you want that? And karma doesn't work that way. That's not even the definition of karma. Look, if something bad happens to her, I will be very unhappy. I don't want, even with my ex-husband, as much as, he hasn't assisted in raising the children, and as many things as he's done over the years that have been very difficult for me and have caused me a lot of pain, I would never wish anything bad or upsetting or dangerous or anything to happen to him. I don't want him to get a divorce from his wife. I don't want anything to happen to his children, his other children. I want him to live a happy life. I don't want karma to attack someone. It just doesn't make sense. Why would you love someone and then they do something wrong to you and suddenly you want bad things to happen to them? I would never wish that on anyone. Besides the fact that when you wish negative on another person, you're going to get negative back threefold. So, first, do ye no harm. And that means with thought as well, because thought entities can be created, and thought can create psychic attack against other people. People don't realize that. So you can cause someone to actually be harmed or be sick or, have something negative happen to them just by attaching serious negative thought to them. And then it comes back on you because what you create, so there will happen to you as well. So I caution you and warn you about this whole, I hope karma gets them and, that kind of passive-aggressive revenge thought process, because it doesn't work. It's just like ultimatums. They don't work. It'll backfire on you, and you will be miserable because of it. So karma doesn't work that way. Look up the true meaning of karma. And then, number 2, that person has to live their life. And everyone should have a happy life, should have opportunities for change, should have opportunities to grow, should have opportunities for happiness. Yes, there are people out there that are just evil, I guess you would call them. But you have to remember, people like that are not born generally. There may be some, but they're not born, they're made. They're made by the circumstances of their life. What happened to them before I met them? What horrible, miserable, awful thing did they have to go through to become the person that they are today? Or what wonderful, great, and lovely things did they go through that became the person that they are today? If you research any serial killers or really, really awful, evil people, you will generally find that they come from backgrounds of serious physical, sexual, mental, and other types of abuse. They've not been nurtured, they don't know how to love, and it's basically broken them mentally and caused serious mental defects in their life. So just remember that when you're placing judgment on someone for how they're behaving. You want to ask yourself, where did they come from? So my issue around losing friends or losing people in my life is, part of that can be a gift. Because some people, if you don't ever have anything wrong happen to you, you'll never know what their really true feelings about you are, and you'll never understand, who they really are to you in your life. And when something challenging happens, people show their true colors. So then you learn very quickly, these are the people that I really need to keep in my life, and these are the people that were only there because of either what I could do for them or that it was just fun, and they're fair weather friends. So I don't grieve a fair weather friend. Do I feel lonely? No. Well, first and foremost, I have my children around. But even if I didn't have my children around and I was just alone by myself, I'm not lonely. I'm with me. And I also have spirit with me. And I enjoy spending time alone. It's something that I feel like everybody should, spend time. I see people jumping from relationship to relationship to relationship because they're afraid to be alone. And they'll take abuse and mental abuse and all kinds of things just so they can say they have someone in their life or just so they're not alone. But bottom line is that at some point in your life, you have to be happy to be around you. And you have to be your own best friend. And, sometimes you need somebody to, bounce off ideas on and things of that nature, but they don't necessarily have to be your best friend. You could talk to anybody and say, hey, can I pull your ear for a minute? And, talk to anybody. Sometimes a third party that doesn't know you very well is actually the better, judge of what's happening to you rather than somebody that's known you for a long time or known you well and is making decisions based on their knowledge of you. Because sometimes things are different than what you expect them to be and not based on your past. So my advice for people that are going through transition and recognize that they're beginning to lose friends or people are distancing themselves, regardless of what the transition is, whether it be getting a new job, and it could be a positive transition. Now, one thing I have noticed is I have had friends that actually are happier for me when I am not doing well and when they can offer their assistance to me than when I am doing well. When I'm doing well, I don't hear from them. They distance themselves from me. They're very short. They don't answer the phone. So when I'm doing well, it's almost like, oh no, they're doing better than me, or that's their judgment of themselves. And I can't tolerate that, so I'm going to disappear. But when I begin to slide backwards and I get sick or, I don't do well at work or financially, then suddenly these people pop back in my life. What can I do for you? I'll do anything. I'll do anything. Well, you know what? I don't want someone that only wants me when I'm broken. I want somebody that wants me when I'm good too. So that's another side of the coin. It's just the opposite of someone who leaves you when things are bad. It's just basically the same thing, only they're leaving you because you're fixed and you're not broken anymore, and they have a strong desire to uplift themselves by being around people that are in need or broken so that they can feel good about themselves and bolster themselves up and help their insecurities by assisting you and making themselves feel stronger or bigger or better or over you in some way because they are not broken in the way that you are, because they're healthier, so they can go home and say, ooh, I'm glad I'm not her, and oh, I helped her, that makes me feel better about myself, my life is so much better than hers. And people may unconsciously be doing this and not realize it, but bottom line is, when you recognize that that's happening, it's still an unhealthy relationship, because when you're doing well, you want to celebrate and you want to, you can get out and you can do things and things are great, and suddenly that person is not available to you because they grieve your process and they're not happy for you, because then they start judging their lives by your life and they feel inadequate and insecure, and you can't fix that for them. The only way you can fix that for them is to become ill again or broken or slide into a negative financial situation. And you don't want to do that. You want to keep moving forward. So you have to identify when someone is that friend that only likes you when you're in need or broken, just to bolster themselves up. But my advice to you is to be your own best friend. Recognize that when you lose people from your life, that Spirit does not take people away from you that are good for you. And Spirit will never take anything away from you that is good for you. And sometimes the people say, well, if God's out there, then why am I ill? Well, unfortunately, we create our own issues. Number one, eating unhealthy, not exercising, not paying attention to our bodies and what our bodies are telling us. Bad habits, drinking, smoking, whatever, you can cause your own issues. And what happens is you may start doing something and it just snowballs. Your health just snowballs and snowballs. And even if you quit something, your health was already affected by it in the past, so it's going to carry into the future. So you can't always just blame, oh, God did this to me or whatever, because we have a hand in our own health as well. The other part of that is, I truly believe that the more stubborn you are and the more that you know spiritually and empathically and intuitively in the world, or in your faith, the more you're held accountable for. So if you're stubborn and you don't listen and you keep doing the things over and over again that are not healthy and are not going to help you, Spirit's going to put the beating down on you, and sometimes that includes being ill. And you have to figure out a way that you can recognize the lesson and shift your situation to a place where you can learn the lesson, change your situation, because as long as you're living and breathing, you can change your situation. No matter how hard it is, you can change it. It could take years, but if you are strong in your faith and strong in yourself, and you really want to change, and you're persistent about that change, then you will make it work. Remember, every 7 years, our cells have completely regenerated themselves. So every 7 years, and each organ or each system actually has a different time frame for sloughing off the dead cells and regenerating new cells. But every 7 years as a whole, you are a whole new person. So, and if you use meditation, because of neuroplasticity, if you don't like your personality, you could even change your whole personality. So the thing is that when you lose people out of your life, it's not a quote unquote loss. It is a shift in who is supposed to be present in your life and what you're supposed to be focusing on at the time. Well, I'm ill, so I have to focus on me. And I would be being very selfish as a friend right now because I need a lot and I can't do a lot. So I would actually not be the best friend in the world right now. And oftentimes being forced to be in a situation where you're somewhat isolated, you begin to learn your lessons a lot faster. You have time to sit and think introspectively. You have time to plan. You have time to do the things for yourself that you need to do. If you need help and you don't have anyone left to give it to you, there are always people out there that are available to you that you may have to pay someone, or you may have to be brave enough to ask someone you don't know very well. But that's what Spirit tasks us to do. When we're removed from a situation because we're changing and we're transitioning and our friends begin to fall away, that means that new friends and new experiences and new people and new requirements are coming to you. So that's where you look for the new opportunities. Yes, you can grieve the past. Yes, you can miss that friend. There's nothing wrong with saying, well, I wish things were the way they were before. But the only way that we grow and the only way that we change and the only way that we get better as a human being in body and mind and spirit is by taking the tests and the lessons that are given to us and learning where it's serving us and learning what we can do to make the best out of it. So grieve your friendships if you lose them. Grieve the family situation if they don't understand. But remember that this is all a part of your experience. Is it fun? Not a bit. Do you enjoy the shift and change? No, not a bit. So here goes my last part of the situation. When you're in transition and you're having a negative experience, like an illness or surgery, or you've lost your job, or you've lost your home, you've lost a parent or a child, and your world comes crashing down on you, and you have no control over it whatsoever, which is very frustrating, you can grieve that experience. You don't have to be all like, oh, I'm positive, I'm flipping around like a little fairy, I'm so happy. No, you can be mad. You can be sad. You can be depressed. You can be, angry at God. You can do all those things because, grieving the process is okay. You don't have to be all sunshine and light all the time. I'm mad. I don't want to be 260 some pounds and not able to breathe, not able to walk, not able to, do anything. I don't want to be in pain. Pain sucks, and especially people that are going through even more serious illnesses than me, like cancer and, things of that nature where you're out of control. You're trying to figure out what to do. You don't know if you're going to get better or if you're not. And, you have to get to that place where you're okay with being angry. Angry is okay. Does it necessarily serve you? Not really, but using your anger to push yourself forward and get to the next stage is normal, natural. And you can cry, you can yell, you can do whatever you feel like you need to do. Grieving the process is natural. We're human. We don't want to be in pain. We don't want to be sick. We don't want to not have answers. We want to change like that. I mean, if I thought in 2 weeks I could just do some yoga and do some juicing and I'd be all back to my normal weight and all doing what I want to do, it would be amazing. But look, I didn't get sick in a day or 2 weeks, and I'm not going to get well in 2 weeks. For every pound you gain in a week, it takes 3 months to get off sometimes. I mean, it's just a process of your life, and you have to go through it. There is no other way around it. I always remember that song when I say it. Going on a lion hunt, going on a lion hunt, gonna catch a big one, gonna catch a big one. I'm not afraid, I'm not afraid. Oh, look, a big tall tree. Can't go under it, can't go around it, or can't go over it, gotta go around it, right? So then you do the next, gotta go over it, gotta go under it. It's a preschool song. I taught preschool and directed preschools for years, so those songs stick in my head. But the thing about it is that you've got to go through it. You've got to go through it. You know, people have gone to prison. People have been prisoners of war. People have beat cancer. People have lost limbs in war. People have been burned unrecognizable. And, you know, a lot of these people will say, I am blessed because of that. I'll never forget, I watched a show, I think it was America's Got Talent, and this young teenage boy had been injured during a baseball, and the ball had hit him in the throat, and it made him develop a terrible, terrible stutter. What he did was he turned it around, and he made a comedy show out of it, and he laughed about it with other people, and it was adorable. He was an adorable person, but what he said was, you wouldn't want to know me before this, because I was a jerk. So he changed his whole life, his whole outlook on life, and his whole personality shifted to what he thinks of as better because of his injury. And many, many people will say, I'm blessed to have been imprisoned. I'm blessed to have lost my limb. I'm blessed to have had this situation happen to me, because I recognize how valuable life is, how wonderful the people in my life are, how wonderful the community at large is. You suddenly become awake to how much more important life is and how much more those happy moments that you have are. How do you know if you have a good moment if you don't have a bad moment? So you can grieve the process, but you also need to recognize that once you get through it, because you have to go through it, you can't give up, you're going to be better, stronger, smarter, probably funnier, because you gotta laugh, than you ever were before. And each challenge that faces us and that we go through, because Lord only knows, if I told you my whole life story, your head would pop off. And so many people have the same kind of lives and the same kind of stories, but very few, or not as big of a number, can go through it and come out better on the other side. You don't want to be bitter. You don't want to be angry for life. Look, it happened. It's over. See the value of it. See the changes that you were able to make in your life and move forward. So grieving friendship loss is natural, but friendships are going to come and go in your life. And when you are at your weakest, people are like wolves. In the pack of wolves, they love each other. They have the alpha, they have the beta, they have, a group hierarchy in a wolf pack. But if a wolf becomes injured or very, very infirmed, that wolf pack will turn on that infirmed member and either drive them from the pack or kill them, because they don't recognize the value of that entity in their world anymore. In fact, if they are slowed down or they are noticed that there is a weak member in the pack, they're more likely to be preyed on by other predators, other wolf packs, or it will slow them down so they cannot hunt and they cannot do the things they need to do to survive. So people have that nature at times. If you're not able, if you can't participate on a certain level, if you're not present for them, they'll turn on you and they'll either cut you out of their life or they'll make you so miserable that you wish you were. And that's when you have to take control and make your situation your own and own it. Make your good decisions about who stays and who goes in your life. Grieve the process, grieve the loss, and then go through it. So I'm glad. I hope you guys listen. It's another 40-minute video. I'm going to start breaking them into parts. But I've had a horrible few days as far as pain level and just being sick in general, not being able to really function. And, this is the first day that I forced myself to, get up. I cut my hair, recolored my hair, and put on some makeup. Took my girls to breakfast this morning because, as I said in my previous video, sometimes you have to fake it till you make it. You have to keep moving. So that's just me. If any of you want to share your transition stories or ask me any questions, you're welcome to do so at any time. But make sure that you like and subscribe so that we can transition together. You have a lovely Sunday. Thank you for listening. Bye.